Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Women's Soccer Show. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Allie.
And Allie is back. Welcome back from across the world. You still have not recovered from jet lag, but we
basically flew around the world because we flew in one direction to get to Japan and then flew the other way around to get back from Japan.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we flew across Europe and Russia to get to Japan, and then we flew hit halfway over San Francisco. So I sort of waved at you outside the plane.
I was just about to ask.
Then up over the Arctic Circle and then down.
Wow.
So yeah, it's crazy.
So you've literally been around the world since we last talked to you.
I have.
And because we don't have a fantasy update this week, the update is going to be that you went to Japan and you actually saw a football match there.
I did. So we timed it, genuinely coincidental. We timed it that it was the start of the Women's Empowerment League, which is Japan's fully professional women's league, when we were out there. So I said to my missus that the one non-negotiable I had was I wanted to go see a match while we were out there. And I picked the best one.
Tell us about it.
I picked the best one because for anybody who isn't aware, that football is not a big sport in Japan. It's baseball. Baseball is the Japanese national sport, and softball for women. But we went to, and again, forgive my pronunciation because it's always awful, but we went to Omiya, which is a football town. And I didn't realise how big they were until we got there, but it was the place where all of the games for the Olympics, they had the first purposely built football stadium there. And so we picked there because it was easy to get to from where we were staying. And genuinely, they are obsessed. They are obsessed with football.
So was it like a packed stadium? Was it hometown? What was it like? Give us the vibes from the stadium, what the differences were, everything.
It wasn't a packed stadium, but it was a healthy crowd. They had the hardcore fans behind the goal, and they had drums, and they were chanting all game, didn't let up. The atmosphere was absolutely incredible. You come out of the main station and there is a massive orange and blue banner, which is the colours of the team, telling you how to get to the stadium. There was a wedding dress shop and they'd put all flags and the orange and blue in the wedding dress shop as part of their display. You then had to go through a massive park to get to the stadium, which included a 1,000-year shrine, that they turned one of the outbuildings into a shrine for the football. So you could pay 100 yen to pray for a good result at the football.
Wow, that's so cool.
They were so into it and so excited, and that made you really excited. Though I will say, my wife is sat with me and was like, she's like, this feels really familiar. Why is it really familiar? And then saw their number 5 give the ball away. She went, it's like watching West Ham. I was like, thanks, babe.
Some foreshadowing, which we will come on to.
But yeah, genuinely amazing. And the fans were really cool and really welcoming. And again, between Google Translate and my terrible Japanese and their broken English, we ended up having the best time.
Did you get any merch? Did you bring any merch home?
I've got so much orange and blue merch now. So much orange and blue merch, because when we went in, they were giving away free shirts as part of get behind your team. And it was amazing. And my wife was like, I want to give them more money. So I ended up with a baseball cap, an official shirt, some badges, all sorts. I was just like, this is my team now.
That's amazing. And I'll add in that you are now a fan of random U.S. high school merch.
I am.
So anybody out there listening, if you want to send Allie your hometown high school merch, apparently that's what they're into now because they picked it up in Japan.
Yeah, I will set up a PO box because it was just literally, it was high school and college merch. It's huge in the vintage shops in Japan, and it's not even because you see it in the UK where you'll see tourists wearing Oxford University, or even for the States it'll be Harvard, Yale, the big names. No, it was University of Alabama. It was Mississippi, it was, Ole Miss was quite big over there. There was Utah was massive over there for Syracuse. I saw so much Syracuse merchandise in Tokyo. It was so random, but I loved it. So yeah, so anyone wants to send me some random college merch, then please do.
You foreshadowed it when you said something about how it felt like you were watching West Ham. So let's do it. We're kicking it off with the WSL, and we cannot kick it off without first saying Beth Mead is back, baby. And this wasn't her first game, but this was her first goal back. And what a screamer it was. She is back with a bang, we will say.
Yeah, I did think it was very sweet. She dedicated it to her mum, which was really sweet because it's her first goal since her mum died. And like if I wasn't on the receiving end of it, I would have been so happy. But,
I think that universally, probably, I mean, at least coming into the Lionesses about to play made everybody happy. But we've got a few games here. I think we're going to do something different today. We're not going to do game of the week. We've got a few, I think, more main points to touch on. And we're going to kick it off because for the past few weeks, Amy and I have talked quite a bit about West Ham. And Allie, you heard the episodes.
I did.
I've been holding back. I've been holding back on asking you how you feel and how you reacted to what Amy and I were saying. So now is the opportunity. So West Ham once again took a loss this past weekend. They fell 3-0 to Arsenal. West Ham now are sitting at the bottom of the table. They're tied on points with last place Bristol City. The only reason that West Ham are sitting one above Bristol City is because of just a one goal in the goal differential. So it's not looking great right now for a team that we thought could have been middle of the table. What's going on with West Ham? Do you agree with what me and Amy were saying?
No, for a start. The thing is, I think you were fair, but I think you're being very pessimistic. And I say this about all teams. I do say it all about all teams. But specifically, my own team is the fact that specifically the Arsenal game. I'll talk specifically about the Arsenal game. A 3-0 loss against Arsenal is the least devastating result of recent results when you compare
but let's not
Bristol.
Just talk about the Arsenal game.
But when you talk about Bristol and the Villa ones, those were painful.
Yeah, lost to Aston Villa, lost to Bristol City. Both of those were 3-2 scorelines. Got smacked by United 5-0.
Yeah, but again, that was expected. We lost 4-0 to United last season and stuff like that. We've only ever taken 4 points off of Man United every time we've played them. So I wasn't expecting results like that. But I think a lot of people are calling for Skinner's head, which I don't agree with at all. She came in, she got assigned the West Ham job in late July, early August. That's 3 weeks of transfer window left.
Yeah. I would agree with that. There's much bigger problems than your head coach. But for a club of West Ham's stature that has the money that West Ham has.
But it doesn't. That's the thing.
But
it doesn't.
Don't you
and
think
that's the problem.
This is a club that should be making better moves in the offseason? I guess let me go to this point. Do you agree?
We did make good moves in the offseason. The problem is we didn't strengthen our midfield because Dagny announced her pregnancy late.
Yeah.
And we were screwed. And then our Abby Lee Stringer has been injured for most of last season, which is our another midfielder. So our midfield is gone. I will turn that out. Our midfield is terrible.
But you are in danger right now of relegation. Would you agree with that?
No, because I think Bristol is still worse than us.
But this is great. I'm happy you said that because that brings me on to my next question, which is let's go directly to the point of Amy called back something you said when the three of us were on once where you said, but we're better than the worst. And I think it was Amy's words when she was like, but you got to aim to be better. You get better than just not the worst, right? Would you say that that's West Ham's mentality right now and it needs to be better than that?
Yeah, I'd say up until Christmas, that will be our mentality. We're going to go in and we're going to want to beat Everton because they are close to us points-wise and stuff like that. And when you look at the teams around us and who they're playing, we've got a good shot of getting points against Everton and boosting ourselves up, Leicester less so. And then when January comes in, that's when we can bring in players and we can, do stuff. There is something going wrong. I will admit that. Like I said, our midfield is non-existent. Our midfield is awful. And we saw on the game on Sunday, our forwards have to run back and help defend because there is no midfield.
There's not only no midfield, there's no scoring. Tied for the fewest goals for in the entire league with 7 goals across 8 games.
Yeah. But that comes from the midfield because if your strikers are halfway up the pitch, I'll take again the Arsenal game is Viv was back defending with players because there was no middle. So I'm not worried. I'm not worried until like if we're still in this position in March.
You're very calm for a supporter of a team that's basically tied for Bristol City in last place.
Yeah, because there's only one relegation point. If there was 2 relegation spots, then I would be concerned. But I still think we are better than Bristol, and I think we will do better than Bristol.
You know what? I think we're all gonna find out on January 28th when West Ham play Bristol City. That's going to be a big game right there. I am excited for the transfer window to open. I am excited to hear as we further approach January who you think West Ham should bring in, because I'm disappointed for West Ham. I want them to be doing better.
Have you seen the story? Because I will hold my hands up. I had some inside knowledge that this was likely, but have you seen who West Ham are bringing in January? It's like almost finalized.
Who?
Katarina Gori, baby. We want to talk about solidifying that midfield.
You know what? Most of the time I would say one player's not going to change everything, but I do think that she could bring a lot. And we've seen what Jill Roar is able to do at Manchester City, and that's just one move with one player, which usually I would kind of poo-poo on, but you know how I feel about Gori. So if that is the case, I think that's a great move for what, and that's the type of move, and that's the type of player that West Ham should be going after. The underrated kind of star who should be worth more than she is, frankly.
Yeah, I do want to say to any West Ham fans listening, is I want to stop the calling for Skinner's head. It is A, too early, and B, the players have all said how much they love playing under her, which we haven't had under a manager for a very long time, to have our players actually come out and say they like playing under her. Yes, there is something not quite right, there's not quite clicking, but let's chill our boots. Let's calm ourselves down.
I would agree with that. Now, for one team calling for a coach's head to another coach that we're worried about in Carla Ward, let's talk about this Everton versus Aston Villa matchup, because Everton beat Aston Villa 2-1 this past weekend. It was looking a little bit better for Villa after last week, and they beat West Ham 3-2 in a bottom of the table battle. This arguably also a bottom of the table battle, but Everton took it at Aston Villa. I mean, there's a lot to say here. I don't even know where to begin. Where do you want to start?
I'm going to say, I probably would say that Aston Villa fans have got to be the most disappointed in the league so far. You've got to be, because the expectation was with the players you have, you were fighting for top 4. You were battling to try and do what Man United did, last season, and it's just not happened.
And I don't want to be a dead horse. I mean, we've talked a lot about the disappointment of Villa, and the reality I think that Amy and I said last week is like, you know what? This is a bottom of the table team, so let's judge them based on that now, because we're 8 games into the season, and that's just what they are. And even for a bottom of the table battle, I was disappointed in what Villa brought to this. Honestly, for both teams, I thought it was a bit of a boring game. Villa dominated possession, but that stat, all it says is that they dominated possession. What it doesn't say is that most of that possession actually happened in their own half.
I was going to say, it was in their own half. It was up to the halfway line. Yeah, you can have 90 or whatever possession it was, but it doesn't help if you're passing it back and forth between your defenders and your goalkeeper. I will give Everton credit because, a lot of people have written them off. They've had, the shock announcement that Sorensen's retiring at the end of the year. Never mind the football season. She's going, the last 2 games, they've got West Ham, then they've got someone else, I can't remember who it is. And then that's it, she's done. Footballing-wise. And they've managed to, sort of galvanise themselves. But, like you said, it wasn't the most thrilling of matches.
It wasn't. Neither team was very convincing. Villa could move the ball around a bit better, but nothing really came from that. And I agree with what you said. I want to give credit where credit is due. Credit to Everton because, I mean, let's run through this, because this was, for a game that not a lot happened, some of the goals were very interesting. Everton went up 1-0 on an own goal that was just maybe Aston Villa's season in a nutshell. I don't even know. It was a cross, and it was just an unfortunate, your defender's facing the goal because she's tracking backwards, and this cross was not going to go in, but it's hit in by a Villa defender. But Villa did a great job to respond. Within a minute, Rachel Daly equalized. And frankly, a draw here would have been a really good result, I think, for both teams. But at the end of the day, I mean, tough season for Christy Hansen so far.
Poor Hansen.
Yeah. I mean, this was the right call. I thought this was the right call from the ref. Heather Payne of Everton goes down in the box. Christy Hansen, she did get all player, no ball. Yeah. But this was as close to outside the box as it could possibly be while still
like
being
inside
the box. So it's one of those that's just so unfortunate. But to give credit to Everton, and specifically here to Heather Payne, who was working her butt off that whole game. And she was kind of like the thorn in the side of Villa's defense. And she worked hard for that. And that came because of her hard work all game. And she isolated herself against Hanston on that wing. And she drew the foul.
Yeah, which is what you got to do. It's what you've got to do. And yeah, poor Chrissy Hansen. I think her head's not been right since the red card, because obviously that really threw out her season.
For those who don't know, red card, first game of the season, Christy Hansen, 3-game suspension. It's just been a tough climb back ever since.
Yeah, and she's still not quite in the right frame of mind as of yet.
Yeah, but credit to Everton. They've been in a lot of close games this season, and we called this a bottom of the table battle, but really what this did was kind of catapult Everton a little further out of the relegation reach and closer to the middle of the table. They've been in a lot of tight battles this season, and I don't think this team has given credit for what they've been able to do. If a couple of results that they lost by 1 goal happened to just go another way, we'd be looking at a completely different team here. They opened with a 2-1 loss to Brighton. They lost 1-0 to Leicester City. They tied Tottenham 1-1. They tied Bristol City 2-2. And so if a couple more had just gone a little bit differently, this would be a team that would maybe be sitting pretty comfortably in the middle of the table. So credit to them. I don't think really either team brought a lot to the table here, frankly, but Everton were the ones who were able to pull it out of the bag. And this is just the moment you think Villa are about to start climbing themselves out of this relegation spot, they lose again 2-1, and they're only 2 points out above West Ham and Bristol City at the bottom.
Yep. So they are in some real trouble.
All right. And finally, we have to talk about maybe the most shocking result. I expected Manchester City to beat Tottenham, but I did not expect a 7-0 scoreline, City over Tottenham. Allie, did you get a chance to see this game?
I did. I was watching this game on the way back from Arsenal West Ham, and first off, I'm not going to lie, joyful that Spurs got beat. But that's the West Ham fan in me. But I think the reason this game was like it was is two teams with very similar style of play. They both like that attacking counter football, and it was a masterclass from City on how to do it, and Tottenham just didn't get out of the starting blocks.
I mean, I will say, for at least the first 30 minutes of this game, it was not a 7-0 destruction type game. I thought Tottenham had some chances. They didn't have a lot of shots on goal, but they had the ball in their attacking third. They had created some opportunities. But once City went up 2-3-0, you just watched Tottenham completely collapse. And the story of this game, for me, is there's a great statistic here that says that Tottenham are highest on turnovers in all of the WSL right now. And I think that says everything. They were trying to play out of the back, and City were very right to high press against a team that wanted to play out of the back and were highest on turnovers. And a lot of City's goals came from that press on Tottenham, and Tottenham giving the ball away in their attacking third, and City just punishing them for it.
I hate playing out from the back as a tactic. I hate it. It's one of my big football icks. I hate it because 9 times out of 10, unless your opponent is super slow and you're super skilled, it goes wrong and something bad happens.
I disagree. I like it. I think where teams go wrong is that that's the only thing that they lean on. the benefit of having a team that can play out of the back is that you can mix it up. You can play out of the back. You can go long. You can change it up in what you do. I think the mistake that teams make is they become so predictable, and cities run into this issue as well, where it's like, okay, well, we know that no matter what, even if you're under intense pressure, you're not going to play that long ball. So I'm just going to pressure you. And that's what Tottenham ran into. There was a point in this game where they just needed to stop trying to play it out of the back. They just needed to give in to the fact that that wasn't happening in this game and accept what they were being given. And they didn't. And that's where they ran into trouble. And that's what I don't like when teams try to utilize it when that's not what the game is giving. The most beautiful thing about soccer is that your players have to be adaptable on the field. You have to change your tactics as the game progresses. And they didn't.
Yeah, I will say, again, don't panic, Spurs fans. These blip results can happen. You're having probably one of your best seasons in the WSL, but you are playing Man United next. So hopefully you will learn from this.
That's going to be a fun game. That's going to be a really, really fun game. I'm marking that on the calendar of, yep, I'm going to watch this one. Okay, we cannot move on. I have to add this in because Amy requested it, and it's going to come into play later on. Extra shout out to Aggie Beaver-Jones of Chelsea, who had a goal on the 5-2 win, Chelsea over Leicester City. She really is a young one to watch, and we're going to talk about that as we get into international and talking about the Lionesses. Let's go around the world. Around the world, around the world.
Over to Scotland. It was goals galore this weekend, with both the league leaders racking up 20 goals between them. Celtic remain in second despite an emphatic 13-0 win over Aberdeen. Rangers are top after their equally impressive 7-0 win over Montrose.
Over to the Champions League. You want the best teams to play this competition, and you got them. The second game in the group stage did not disappoint. It was not a good day to be a Parisian team. Paris FC were defeated 4-1 by Chelsea, while PSG lost 1-0 against current German champions Bayern Munich. The next group match is December 13 and 14 after the international break.
Over to España. Madrid versus Levante Las Planas provided the game of the week. End to end with 7 goals. And I'm talking one would score, then the other would score 2 minutes later. A win for Madrid moves them up to 5th. But most importantly, it proves the league is getting more and more competitive.
And finally, over to Germany. Bayern Munich remain in the lead after a win against Bremen. Wolfsburg are just 1 point behind. However, 3 teams are tied with 14 points below them, making the battle for the third Champions League spot even more entertaining.
Have you checked out Total Football Analysis yet? TotalFootballAnalysis.com provides research analysis on loads of football, including the women's game. Want all the stats in one place instead of drowning in a mountain of tabs? Want to explore key matchups and the tactics from both teams? Total Football Analysis provides the stats and analysis to help you learn more about the beautiful game. We have a special discount for listeners of the Women's Soccer Show. At checkout, type WOSO10 to get a full year for just €10. That's €40 of the yearly subscription. Head over to TotalFootballAnalysis.com and type WOSO10 at checkout.
Over to now my favourite time of the year. Enter sarcastic comment here.
I was going to say, I've converted you.
You have not. It is international break. Yes, Lynn and all of us in between, there is another one.
Which we're all very excited about. I am, at least.
Yeah. But we've got to talk about it because there's some cracking games coming up and some key games coming up.
Oh, there's so much to talk about. We could do a whole episode just on international, and we will next week after these games get played. But for now, we get to preview them. And last week, we talked about the U.S. women's national team roster drop and everything that came with that. And oh my goodness, am I excited for these games. But we didn't get to talk about the England squad and who got called up, who maybe got snubbed. So we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to talk all things Nations League and more. But first things first, let's get into it. The Lioness roster was announced, and everybody's got a lot of thoughts on this, Allie. So let's dig into some of these key pieces. And I guess maybe the first point is the more recent news that Millie Turner will replace Millie Bright in the squad. Bright will be out with a small injury, but she is okay. Let's just do this right here. Frankly, I was really shocked to see that Millie Turner was the one who got called up.
I'm not. I think she's been amazing for Man United, and it's about time that she actually got the recognition of what she's going to do. The problem is, and like I can see it from the notes about what we're going to talk about a bit, is the fact that back line wise, we don't have many British defenders. Lucy Parker is injured and out, and also, as we've mentioned, Villa have not done particularly well. You know, that would have been the only other one I could think of may have done the replacement. You know, we've got a couple of young ones that Serena doesn't think are ready for seniors yet.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, not ready. Millie Turner has not been capped yet for England.
Yeah, but she's got game experience and more game experience as a whole, as a player, you know. So I think it's right. I do think she's probably the best.
I don't think she'll see the field. I think it could have been a really great opportunity. If she's not going to see the field, it would have been maybe a great opportunity for Serena to see what one of these young talents could do in training, and with, you know, the knowledge that, hey, you're coming into camp so you can grow and you can play against this competition and we can train you and develop you, but you're not going to see the field. If you're going to bring somebody in like that, bring somebody young in and see what can happen. To me, this screams that, yeah, what we already know is England is so deep in the attacking and very much not in the defensive end. And I'll say, while we're talking about the back line, Wubben Moy got that call up again. And listen, you know I love me some Arsenal, but I do think that Arsenal's backline's had a tough season. And I think Wubben Moy is a big, you know, she's a big part of Arsenal's back line. I think she's also had a tough season.
But again, she won't see the pitch.
Once again, though, like, I think that this is a great... I understand why, especially within England, I think there's a big community of people that think that there's a lot of bias and big club call-ups, where you get a call-up maybe not necessarily 100% based on your performance, but because you're playing for a club that's been doing well. And I can see how they can see this call-up and think that, frankly.
I don't, because again, as I repeat, who would you replace her with? Who would you replace her with? Again, English defensively, there aren't many. There aren't many. You look at the best back lines and it's lots of European players. You know, there is a lot of... You know, you look at that Chelsea backline, and yeah, you've got, you know, Cuthbert, who's Scottish. You've got Ingle, who's Welsh. You've got, you know, Jess Carter, who got a call up. It was Millie Bright who did, but obviously is out injured. But then again, the big part of the Chelsea backline for a long time was Swedish. You know, like, it's like you look at the big clubs, and it's like, who would you call up? Because a lot of their backline is international.
To throw it to the positive, I think Charles has had such a great season, and I've loved her development, and I'm really excited to see her in this camp, in this roster. I think she's going to get a lot of minutes, and I'm really excited to see what she can do. I think the biggest, if you go to the social media and you look at what people are saying, I think the biggest one is they're calling for Aggie Beaver-Jones.
Too young. I maintain she is too young. I think she is... There is still some growing that needs to be done. I think she's a cracking talent. I think she's not far off. But based on the position she is, we've said it ourselves, we're an attacking nation. Is she better than the ones we've called up? No. Will she be? Yes. But she's not there yet.
I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches up top.
It absolutely is. But before we move on to anything, the topic we have to talk about, the big topic when it comes to roster, is the goalkeeping issue. So we've gone back to just 3 keepers being called up, and obviously Mary Earps is the first on the call sheet. I would say that Kiara Keating has earned a call up into camp. Do I think she's going to see the pitch? Part of me thinks she might in the Scotland game. And the reason I say that I think she might is that she'll get a spike call up. And what I mean by that is Keating's ancestry allows for her to play for another national team. And I think that Serena does see her as the part of the future of the England setup, but not quite yet. But if you give her a call up now, then you have cemented her into England, because I think she will be playing, because the gap's supposed to be 5 years. You've got 5 years of a competitive fixture, then you can go play for another country. I think she'll get like a spike call up.
I mean, it's an interesting thought. I think this could be Serena looking at 2 young keepers in Hannah Hampton and Kiara Keating and saying, these two are the future. One of them is going to be the next starter for this squad, and let's see how they fare when we put them like head to head against each other.
Well, that's what we've got to talk about, because the big elephant in the room is that Hampton got the call up and Roebuck didn't. And Roebuck is missing. Like, Roebuck is missing both in, like, she got on the bench, I believe, at the Spurs game. So, like, we know she exists. We know that
but she
she's
hasn't
still
been
there.
playing for City, is the point.
Yeah, but Hampton hasn't been playing for Chelsea.
Right, so this is the whole thing. Go ahead. So Serena, when asked about Hannah Hampton getting the call up, or excuse me, when asked about Ellie Roebuck's absence, what did she respond with? What was her reasoning?
So, yes, so her argument was... So now we've gone back to 3, so I had to give her a hard message that we didn't pick her for now. Of course, she's in a hard position and she has to work hard and see if she can find opportunities. Right now, in the short term, that's not going to happen. And when asked to clarify, what she meant was she's not playing for club. She's not playing, so therefore they can't bring an out of, fit, out of sorts keeper. But then she brought Hannah Hampton. Now, my theory is, and don't come at me, Man City fans, but my theory is that Serena's looked at the young talent. She's looked at the English goalkeepers. Remember, we've lost McKeever to Scotland. She's now, Megan Walsh has now gone to Ireland. So she's looking, maybe Sophie Bagley, Emily Ramsey is still playing in the unders. She's looked at it and she's gone, whose coaching do I trust more? Do I trust Emma Hayes or do I trust Gareth Taylor? And she's gone, I trust Emma Hayes more, and that's why Hampton's got the call up, because they've both got the same amount of game minutes.
It's not. It's more than that. If you're going to call somebody up that hasn't played a minute in this WSL season, you're just going to call somebody up who you think is straight up the better keeper right now. And Hannah Hampton is young, she's talented. And quite frankly, if you're comparing her most recent performances in the WSL, which were last year, versus Ellie Roebuck's most recent performances, it's no question. You also know what Ellie Roebuck can do on the national team, and you don't really know what Hannah Hampton can do. And it's so, this is going to sound harsh, but like, it's so simple to me. One is simply better than the other for club and for country right now. Ellie Roebuck was beat out by Mary Earps. She is never going to be the England number 1 again. Hannah Hampton might. So there's no reason to bring in Ellie Roebuck to camp unless you're scared that Mary Earps gets hurt and your young talent isn't quite ready for that moment. That's the only reason right now. And that's not good enough.
I disagree about you saying that Roebuck will never be England number 1 again. I disagree with that. No, but I'm not saying necessarily her, but you look at Mary Earps. Mary Earps was England's number 4, and England's number 4 for a long time. And the few times she played for England, she had howlers. She was not very good. And now look at where she's worked her way up, and there is no one better than our Mary. So I don't think it's, as you always told me off when I said that Steph Houghton needs to cut time on her England career, and you yelled at me. I think it's short-sighted to say that Roebuck will never be England number 1 again. But I do think that, we talked about it in January, she needs to look at getting a loan. She needs to look at her options because her position at City is not tenable. If they are picking a 19-year-old keeper who has made some amazing saves and has really earned her place, I'm not disparaging Keating in any way, shape or form. But if they've gone that she is our number 1 and then gone for a keeper again that barely got any minutes previously, and McKeever is your second keeper, Roebuck needs to go find somewhere that wants to play her. And even if that means stepping down a division so that she's constantly getting game time, because Keating played for Fylde, which is a fair few divisions, in tandem with playing for City, and played for Cov as well.
So let's talk about these upcoming games, because there's so much to watch. The US are going to play China twice. England are going to take on the Netherlands and Scotland. And before we get into all of that, some of these games, especially so in Europe, the games that are being played are part of Nations League. And for those who are not in Europe, Allie, will you please break down what in the world this madness is, what it means, and maybe the position that England right now and why these games matter? Because people in the US, we're just looking and we're like, okay, we've got China, 2 friendlies. people might need a reminder that these games are big. They matter right now for England and other European squads.
So basically this was set up by the governing bodies in Europe to make a fairer qualification system for major tournaments. So it's basically putting all of similar seeded clubs, nations in a league to play each other to then, in this instance, to gain Olympic qualification. Now, England are playing on behalf of all of the home nations because only England's results matter in terms of Team GB's
Now, this is the stupid
Olympic
part.
qualification.
Yeah, because Team GB is playing in the Olympics, but all nations that are a part of Team GB are still playing in qualification, but only England's count in terms of qualifying for Team GB. So everything hangs in the balance of England. So like if Scotland were to qualify, it doesn't matter. England have to qualify.
No. In the long run, it will make sense because they're going to use the same tournament for World Cup qualifications and Euro qualifications. It's just for this specific round, it makes no sense.
Especially because England and Scotland are going to play each other. So Scotland is
Exactly.
now like
they're in the same group.
playing
It makes no sense.
essentially, these players are playing against themselves getting into the Olympics. So like if Caroline Weir scores a screamer and England lose, Caroline Weir has less of a chance of playing in the Olympics.
Yeah. So that's basically what it is they wanted to stop these rugby scores. So they've now put each nation into different leagues to play similar level teams, which I think is it's been brilliant, to be honest. I know some England fans have not been happy, but I do think it's a brilliant system to do it.
So how are England doing? Because it's not great. Okay, so let's just jump right into this. England have 2 games coming up. They're going to play the Netherlands and Scotland. These are the last 2 games of this group stage tournament. And so what do England need here and what hangs in the balance?
Right. So basically, England need to win both games by fairly decent margins. Like 1-0 results is not going to help here. So they need to win both games with decent margins. They then need to hope that Scotland will beat Belgium in their game that's at the same time as the Netherlands-England game, and then in turn hope that Belgium beat the Netherlands. Because if those 2 things happen, then England will go top and yay, we've qualified. But that's the only way England can qualify, unless we batter, even if Belgium win, but if we batter both Scotland and Netherlands and have a better goal difference, then we can. But as things stand, that's what we need to happen.
So there's no playoff.
So it's unlikely.
It's just the top 2 teams in each group, or the top team in each group qualifies.
Top team.
Period.
It's the top teams. It's one
team from each group qualifies for the Olympics.
Not quite. So once each team, so it is a playoff essentially, because once the top team of each group has been decided, they will play each other in a semi-final, and then the winner of that semi-final will then play in the final. So if you get to the final, if I remember rightly, you qualify.
Both teams in the final qualify.
Both qualify. If France get to the final, then the winner of the third place playoff
because the home nation
France
automatically qualifies.
Exactly. France already have a place. They're guaranteed. They're done for the Olympics. So yeah, that's basically that. So yeah, it's a long shot for England at this point. I'm not going to lie.
It is. It's a long shot for England at this point. But we will all be hanging on the edges of our seats because these are going to be some fun games. I mean, this is an England-Netherlands game, everybody. That's happening on Friday. And then England-Scotland, which I just can't even with that right now.
Everybody loves when the home nations play each other.
Yeah.
Everybody loves that sort of it's that rivalry that's been going on since time immemorial. So we all love when we play England, Scotland, Wales.
But if England lose,
Northern
we will
Ireland.
miss Team GB because it's such madness in terms of the selection, and it's such madness in terms of the uniforms and getting to see what they come up with.
Hey, it's better than the air hostesses that you lot had for the London Olympics.
All right, so we've done England. We've mentioned that the US play China twice. That's going to happen on Saturday and Tuesday. It's going to be really exciting, but there's other massive games coming out of international, and we cannot miss talking about Christine Sinclair's final games as a Canadian international. Canada will play Australia twice, and these will be Christine Sinclair's final games of her international career.
Absolutely. And for the Tilly fans, Matillies, news is coming out. However, you are going to be missing your first string goalkeeper. Mackenzie Arnold picked up a knock training for West Ham, so she will not be travelling out to play. And Sam Kerr won't be travelling out either because of an ongoing foot issue. She is staying with Chelsea to deal with that. So it's going to be an interesting, two key positions up for grabs. Are you going to go for the tried and tested with like Lydia Williams in goal, or are you going to try your youngster keeper that's been tearing up the league? So yeah, Matilli fans, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting for you guys.
Also, we've got Brazil versus Japan, 2 games of that. Oof. I mean, what we all would have killed for a Japan-Brazil game in this past World Cup.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
We were denied.
It's going to be a blast. These are just the 3rd and 4th games for Brazil under new head coach Arthur Elias. They'll also actually tack on a 3rd game. They're going to play Nicaragua as well. We've got Iceland versus Wales on December 1st. That's always a battle. And then finally, I think this is a really fun one. I think this is one that before the World Cup, I don't think anybody would have been excited for. And after the World Cup, everybody is excited for it. Colombia versus New Zealand.
Oh, that's going to be a game. That is going to be a game because both are very physical teams, and we saw it in the World Cup with New Zealand that they like to go in for those crunching tackles, as do Colombia. So that one's going to be so fun.
All right, we've got a lot of international to watch, everybody, and we'll be back next Wednesday to talk all about it. For the Women's Soccer Show, I've been Sarah.
And I've been Allie.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
This podcast was edited by Monkey Hill Media. Visit monkeyhillmedia.com for more information.